Don't listen to what demons say. Well, if we didn't listen but looked at what is happening to the demons in Warhammer 40,000 11th edition, then we can better understand what will happen to the Deathwatch. Chaos Demons existed in 10th edition without a codex. They were index only for the whole edition. Same for Deathwatch, but for a brief blip where the Space Marine Deathwatch index left and the Deathwatch were in Imperial Agents only. Now we have some units in Imperial Agents, but also have a revamped index where copies of them are also in this index as Adeptus Astartes units. So both Deathwatch and Demons were on an index, and we know that Demons are going to be fine going into 11th edition. Indexes live. So if you said, no, only codexes survive into next edition, all indexes disappear with everything in them. Maybe your ideal future is a sad face. A sad clown face. Being sad. A sad clown. That. Forever. Better to have cope. I said hope. I said hope. We're not expecting much to keep a PDF that already exists on the website for Deathwatch rules. So it is for Demons, so it should be for the Deathwatch. There are going to be lots of PDFs added to the Warhammer community downloads anyway. Erratas, FAQ, fixes to make each faction's units work with the new edition. Not like rules patches, they're not gonna fix the Dogmata or the Benefactus' rule about an invulnerable save, just determining what is a leader and what is a support character. Of course, if the Deathwatch were shifted off to Imperial Agents again, we would kick off again, quite rightly. It doesn't work. People who think it works, it doesn't work. If you had a Space Marine army and then you add Deathwatch agents, well, that doesn't work for characters being attached. You cannot add a Space Marine chaplain to a Deathwatch Imperial Agents unit. You cannot put Imperial Agent units in Space Marine transports. Even with an Inquisitor, it doesn't work because the Inquisitor can only go in transports that their bodyguard can go into. You cannot have an Imperial Agents kill team in a Land Raider. And the Space Marine units that support other Space Marine units, like the Combi Weapon Lieutenant giving you rerolls to the wound roll if you roll a 1, that doesn't affect Deathwatch units if they're not Adeptus Astartes. And you can only add a few Agents units to a Space Marine army. Oh yeah, one kill team is in my 1000 point army. Now it feels like a Deathwatch army. If you think, okay, we'll play Agents only, do it the other way around. Have loads of Imperial Agent units and kill teams and stuff. Well, then you don't get the Space Marine side of that. No Land Raiders. Deathwatch Dreadnought doesn't exist. Either way, you lose half of the Deathwatch army. So we've got to stick with an index to function. The Custodes or the Grey Knights would operate better entirely within Imperial Agents, more so than the Deathwatch do. But last time I said that to someone who played Custodes, I was invited to end my existence at my earliest convenience. It's not a nice thing to suggest. Even a prior idea of, okay, well, what if Games Workshop revamped the Ordo Xenos task force and then you combine that with a Space Marine detachment? No. Games Workshop is not going to do soup detachments. No allied detachments. You can't have one detachment from Imperial Agents and one detachment from Space Marines. So you can add an Imperial Knight and a couple of Imperial Agents units to your Adeptus Sororitas army, but you couldn't have a 2-point detachment from Adeptus Sororitas and a 1-point detachment from Imperial Agents. Unless they reveal Imperial Agents, and that's totally different. And it does work that way, but from what they've said so far, you can only have detachments from within one codex. Or index. Or faction, because then you can also add the faction pack detachments. The Deathwatch should do pretty well into 11th edition. There's a drawback. If we're firing Overwatch, we will no longer be able to use our kill team rerolls, like from the Decimus kill team, to re-roll the hit rolls when we're firing snapshots, because Overwatch is snapshots, and you cannot use re-rolls when you do that. So we'll be relying more on Infernus Heavy Bolters if you want to do Overwatch with a kill team. Probably. The Deathwatch weapons, like on the Decimus kill team, and like on the Fortis kill team, have all of the keywords. We've got Assault, we've got Heavy. Lots of weapons have Heavy, and there's a new version of that rule. It is much easier to trigger Heavy. You can still waddle forward a little bit. If you're not in engagement range, If you weren't set up on the battlefield this turn, so like disembarking from a transport or making an ingress move, and you haven't moved more than 3 inches, so now you can move. That makes the Ceramite Sentinel's detachment better, which already mentions being able to move 3 inches. And that's more in tune with the heavy keyword. Very much a replacement to the Anvil Siege Force, which gives you the bonus, not if you're on cover, but if you remain stationary, which heavy no longer requires you to do. So either Anvil Siege Force could get a little tweak, or when the Space Marine Codex comes out in a few months' time, maybe like September, I expect Ceramite Sentinels may move in and Anvil Siege Force will move out. Or they get merged. Or Games Workshop keeps up the 10th edition thing of having loads of detachments, with some clearly being better versions of existing detachments. Heavy can go well with Hidden. With Hidden, there's more opportunity to remain waiting in cover, not shooting until the enemy comes into the open, and then you shoot them. Or don't do that. Be behind a barricade where the enemy cannot strike you except indirectly, move forward 3 inches onto the barricade, then you're in cover, then you can see out the other side, and you still get heavy as a bonus. The Black Spear Task Force has not been shown off in an article, as it is our only Deathwatch specific detachment. That means it's not a 1-point detachment. Only 1-point detachments have been shown off so far in the articles. So one moment while I... we'll be fine. The 2-point or the 3-point detachments remain. Only a few detachments will be 3 points, a rarity. So let's assume for now that Black Spear Task Force is 2 points, and we're not getting more Deathwatch specific detachments. The Space Marine stuff is done, like Grey Knights accepted, but they don't use the Codex Space Marine units. Their faction keyword is Grey Knights, not Adeptus Astartes. So what will we combine the Black Spear Task Force with? And if not that, we will use another Space Marine detachment that is 2 points, and then combine it with stuff. There are 3 1-point detachments available. The Fulgris Task Force could be useful. Some Deathwatch players are known to take like a Stormspeeder Thunderstrike in their army. In this detachment, that one Thunderstrike Stormspeeder could arrive in turn 1, ready to help any of your Deathwatch units that were able to deep strike turn 1, such as, assuming rules are like 10th edition, if you left the table in the enemy turn 1 and arrived in your turn 1. Then that unit can deep strike, shoot an enemy, the Stormspeeder Thunderstrike comes on. After being safe in turn 1, it hits the enemy, you get +1 to wound against it. And with Bellicose Weapon Spirits, as an upgrade, and up to 3 of your units can have the same upgrade. With that, the Thunderstrike could reroll the damage on its Storm Fury missiles and Las Talon, assuming you hit and wounded. But if it's a cheap upgrade, that's valid. Taking a Thunderstrike is less common among Deathwatch players. We maybe want to focus more on the kill teams. So what about Subversion assets? We have a Phobos armored kill team. The Spectres kill team doesn't get much play. This can make them better. The detachment rule means that if they can see an enemy unit within 12 inches, they are detected, and then all our other units that are trying to spot that unit that's trying to be hidden get an extra 3-inch detection range. So rather than only being able to shoot a hidden unit if we're within 15, we can hit them if we're within 18. When you're hidden, you remain hidden unless you have made a shooting attack in the current turn or the previous turn. But our Spectres kill team can fire its many shots from all of its guns and remain hidden with Strike from the Shadows. We can do damage, the enemy has to take the damage, then we can't be shot unless the enemy moves within 15 inches of us. While the Spectres kill team does have an ability to leave the board, that's only at the end of the opponent's movement phase, and we may want to use them to hold an objective, which they can do much easier if they can't be shot but can shoot at the enemy. Spectres kill team gets better. Okay, let's have something that affects much more of the army. The Librarius Conclave. Having a Librarian combines well with a Fortis kill team and with Terminators. Have a Librarian in each. Then your unit is an Adeptus Astartes Psyker unit. You could also get that bonus by adding an Inquisitor to the unit, as long as our Deathwatch are the Adeptus Astartes version of Deathwatch. Then we have Adeptus Astartes and Psyker keywords in the unit. The Telepathy discipline. Attack enemies in cover, ignore modifiers to ballistic skill and hit rolls. Not bad. Or stick with Divination. Always have Divination on. Then a Fortis kill team can have a 4+ invulnerable save from the Librarian, They get +1 to hit when attacking a damaged enemy. So if you use the explosives stratagem, as we're renaming grenades, kill at least one enemy model or damage a bigger thing that only has one model in the unit, like a tank, like a monster, then you shoot it, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And we get to reroll wound rolls of 1. That means you can punch up at some rather nasty big things. Terminator shooting will get to reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. And we have sustained hits. Deathwatch Terminators would like the rerolls to the hit and the wound roll. Deathwatch Terminators have a lot of shooting, as we can have 3 Cyclone missile launchers, and we can have Stormbolters, many Stormbolters, but we can also get boosts to the combat. The rerolls to the hit rolls and the wound rolls also apply in combat. It's any of our attacks. And the Librarians themselves will get better in 11th edition as Psychic does something now.
And their weapons are going to become psychic. Now, the giving something psychic means that they ignore modifiers to the hit roll. So this gives them ignores cover in addition to getting around stealth and many other hit modifiers.
Any attacks that are marked as psychic don't get their hit rolls or ballistic skill modified by any penalties. There you go. Psychic does something. It's not just a keyword that means that anti-psychic can trigger. There is a benefit. Librarians will like that for their attacks. The Genestealer Cult Benefictus will like it for their ranged attacks. If it ever came up in combat, the Genestealer Cult Magos has a 4-star that is psychic. They will ignore -1 to hit in combat. The Patriarch's psychic ability to cause battle shock being psychic probably doesn't really get any benefit. But for the Deathwatch, the Librarians do. So I'm looking at Librarius Conclave and thinking, yeah, I can definitely add in some Librarians. I already do add Librarians in the Bastion task force. That's all about the battle line kill teams. Having a Librarian in a unit in the Bastion task force where our battle line units can advance and shoot and charge. Having the Biomancy discipline for +2 movement. There's an enhancement we can put on the Terminator Librarian to make them battle line, so they can advance and charge. The Deathwatch Terminators don't need to arrive by Deep Strike. Move them up the board, 7 inches at a time, so they can advance and shoot and charge, and they get to reroll the charge if need be. Yes, that combination, that feels right. That feels scary. Let's have fun with the Deathwatch in 11th edition. Let's have a great day of 40k.